Welcome to a special edition of the Mythicist Milwaukee Show, where we keep an all-seeing eye of Horus on the secular movement. I'm your host, Rob Moore. On Saturday, March 19th, we organized the very successful debut of the Buzzed Belief Spirited Debate Series, featuring Dr. Justin Bass and Dr. Richard Carrier, debating the topic, are there reliable sources for the miraculous resurrection of Jesus Christ? It was a great time, and if you haven't seen it yet, please go to the Mythicist Milwaukee YouTube page and watch the entire event for free. The day after the debate, we sat down with Dr. Bass, Dr. Carrier, moderator Miguel Conner, as well as Mythicist Milwaukee co-founder Sean Fracek, and my own podcast co-host Brian Edward to share everyone's thoughts about the event and give some insight into the origins of the Buzzed Belief Debate Series. Due to the limited time available, our interview with Dr. Bass and Miguel Conner was done over breakfast, so I do apologize for some of the background noise there. We start off with Sean and Brian. What is Mythicist Milwaukee, and what are the goals of the group?
You want to take that one, Brian?
Mythicist Milwaukee is a community organization of atheists, agnostics, skeptics, humanists, if you want to call it. Just a solid group of people that are generally doubting dogma, that work together on projects. They're generally secular related, but it's a community and team.
Yeah, the original concept is to take a look at ancient religions and see how those religions have influenced the evolution of what we call modern day religions. So if you look at how the Egyptian mythology and Roman mythology and Greek mythology had direct influence on a lot of the concepts that we deem as divine today. Our goal in the beginning was to kind of just present the evidence and showcase, why are we calling one a myth and one real? Why is Christianity deemed as the one true religion and, Greek mythology is deemed as purely mythological when they have so much in common? Now we're focusing on events, we're making movies, we're organizing communities, actually a secular community in Milwaukee that didn't exist in the past, and you have churches, you have mosques, you have temples and things like that where people of faith can go and worship and be in a community and network and talk to people and make friends. And atheism, secularism, humanism, there isn't that outlet. So our main goal is to create that in Milwaukee and hopefully inspire other groups in the nation to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Even though you're not in Milwaukee, you can still be a Mythicist Milwaukee member.
Correct.
One of our earliest members and essentially co-founder to our group is Kristen Whitaker Hood, who is out of Maryland. She's just been fantastic all around. If you find interest in what we do and the information we bring, you can play your part and be involved.
Where did the Buzz Belief series of debates come from, and what is its purpose?
The Buzz Belief debate series is kind of the brainchild of one of our benefactors, Mario Quadracci. He came up with this idea to have a debate with a kind of a renowned atheist scholar and a renowned either Christian apologist or Christian scholar, and to have a debate. But we want to market this not only to the secular community, which I think has interest, but also the religious community as well, and say that we can agree on some things and we can disagree, but we can disagree sanely. This doesn't have to turn into fisticuffs. We probably have more in common than we have opposed, but let's have a discussion. Let's hear what the other has to say.
Right, and the way Mario explained it to us initially in his vision is he's a YouTube junkie, so he's gone on YouTube and he's essentially exhausted all of the debates that are out there on YouTube. So he's like, let's start doing our own debates. Let's add some new debates out into the YouTube sphere, into the social sphere, so that people can see different topics being covered by different speakers.
And from a centrist perspective, I mean, he mentioned at the debate that he is very disappointed with the state of politics and how divisive it is in America. And the same thing can happen with religion. And we want to be a force to bring that to the center and actually talk about it instead of otherizing people and creating divisions.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with a city like Milwaukee, again, I alluded to it earlier, where there really isn't that secular community and we're actually trying to build that, there is a huge religious community, whether it be Sikhs or Christians or Muslims or Jews or anything. There is opportunity to start bringing that side of town into these debates so that everyone gets something out of it. The debates start the discussion.
Explain the process of selecting the first debaters and agreeing on a topic. And what was it like working with Richard Carrier, Justin Bass?
So when Mario first presented the idea of a debate series, we had a couple ideas in mind, and we decided on a couple of topics, and one of the topics we wanted to do was the resurrection of Jesus, because one of the things that makes Christianity quote-unquote unique in certain people's minds is that Christianity has a dying and rising God that historically resurrected. So one of the things we wanted to do is focus on that topic, and Richard Carrier came to mind. He's a friend of our group, so we wanted to get him into the fold. And we had a couple ideas from the religious side. Actually did challenge us a bit to kind of get on the other side and see who was saying what as far as the religious scholars. And then we saw a debate between Justin Bass and Dan Barker. We took interest in that, and we watched that debate and figured, Justin seems like he would be willing and capable of debating Carrier. But then it was kind of funny, and for those out there that don't know, this is some of the back end stuff. When you're the person that is organizing an event and you have one person on one side of the debate and the other person on the other side of the debate, and you start trying to figure out the exact title for the debate, it's a long-winded process. There's like 30 emails back and forth each side we got it down to, did Jesus resurrect? No, he's got to miraculously resurrect. Okay, did Jesus miraculously resurrect? No. Okay, now are there reliable sources for the resurrection? So that's why you see on this first debate, are there reliable sources for the miraculous resurrection of Jesus? It's a marketing nightmare. You can't fit that easily on a header.
It rolls off the tongue.
It does not roll off the tongue. You can't simplify that anymore. It was this decision made by three parties involved, and one's always trying to vie for their side, so it's more favorable to them in the debate. So just picking that topic alone actually is a challenge, and it was very interesting.
So the first debate was actually 4 months ago.
Right. Actually,
taking place on email with reply all.
Yes, the first debate literally was in the Gmail accounts of the two debaters. Yeah, so that was very interesting.
I've gotten to meet Richard Carrier before. He came to our first Myth Information Conference on April of 2015. And Richard Carrier is great to work with. Great guy. Right away showed up. Very friendly, personal, but also smart. He's funny, can interact, and just everyone loves him. Justin Bass I didn't know, other than the debates, and I got to meet him. We had a small pre-party before the Buzz Belief debate at my house. Really nice guy. I mean, you can't hate this guy. I mean, right away, he's got a lot of charisma. You liked him. He did great with everyone. Jokes here and there. It's obvious that he's not a fundamentalist Christian either. He's in the middle. He's passionate about what he does. He believes in the miraculous resurrection, but I knew that he would be a fair debater and a nice guy. So right away, liked him.
Now, after all your hard work, what did you guys think of the debate?
The organization was flawless. The Mythicist Milwaukee team really came together in a very stressful and unknown territory. This has never been attempted before in Milwaukee. It's the first ever debate of its kind. We were able to live broadcast it, which is something that is not easy to do. The whole team did just a great job of welcoming everyone, staying professional. The event went off without a hitch. As far as the information that was shared, I think it was a good topic. I think Richard Carrier held his own. I think Bass held his own. I think Richard Carrier won the debate. There was a lot of times where Bass was deflecting various things and not necessarily addressing the issues that were raised or the questions that were raised. I think they both did a good job of staying professional. On stage, there were times when Miguel, the moderator, had to interject because the discussion was getting too off to the original topic. But all in all, they stayed professional. It was a friendly debate. There was no insults thrown at one another. Miguel Conner, the moderator, did a fantastic job. I think he was definitely needed, and he definitely brought some really good, quick jokes in that really diffused the contention on some of the topics. I think he did a really nice job there. We achieved what we wanted to do with bringing people in that may or may not know about this information and getting them engaged into something like this and starting a discussion.
I was able to sit between a very ardent theist and an atheist. And I was getting whispers in the ear from both sides as different comments were made. I ultimately I'd left my position a little bit. I don't know if it was to attend to something or perhaps go to the restroom, but I noticed that they were talking among each other, and both of them said, "Oh, I really liked that guy at the end." So I felt just that alone, it's good that you can, just because it's an atheist, "Oh, I don't like," yeah, you can. You believers can like atheists. It was good. The audience listened the whole time. I was wondering, are we going to run out of steam on this? But no, people were there. There was a line, maybe 25 people in line, and everybody got to ask their questions, and people listened. It was fun. There was plenty of jokes that were made that kind of lightened the mood, and I thought that we achieved what we wanted to achieve.
Dr. Carrier, your thoughts?
Yeah, the event was great. Superbly run, intricate, all the stuff they had to plan to make that happen. I had a really great time. I thought it was a really good debate and really well organized. I thought the debate, on technical scoring, that was a win for me. But he was a good debater. So it was really good back and forth. He held his own. Dr. Bass was really still competent and delivering a great opening while people were futzing around trying to fix his PowerPoint presentation. And he didn't lose it or get confused or anything. That's a sign of someone who knows what they're doing. So that was impressive.
Dr. Bass and Mr. Conner, how do you feel the debate went?
I was very pleased. I thought, there's always things that I wish we could have gone into more detail with, and I had so many questions for Carrier that prepared, but I was very pleased.
It was great. It was a great experience. Learned a lot.
What did you think of the crowd for the first debate of its kind in Milwaukee?
Good turnout, good audience. I kind of did expect the audience to be skewed towards his side, towards Christians, but no, it was actually skewed towards the non-believers. And if you look in the Q&A, there was maybe 3, 4 possibly Christian questions for me, and then most of the rest were non-believer questions for him.
The audience was great, respectful. They laughed at my jokes, which made me very, very happy. That was my biggest worry. I joked with I practiced it with a group of people back at home the day before I came, and 2 unbelievers were among that group. And at the Donald Trump stuff, I was like, gosh, are they going to laugh at this? If they don't, I'm going to the whole thing's going to go downhill after that. So it was great. There's no way to know the exact numbers, but it did seem like maybe there was only a handful of Christians, but it was still a respectful audience. They were great. The feedback I got afterwards was really good.
What did you think of the debate format?
I like the format. If you're going to do the cross-examination, the question, the conversation period, which was neat. I kind of like that. But it does get out of hand a little bit, because, if he'll say 7 things that are false, and I'm like, now I've got to challenge all of these things, and you get more spun off from where you started.
I love the format. It's pretty much the same as we do back at home. That's exactly the way I've done most of my debates, where we'll have opening talk, rebuttal, and then we go back. I love the cross-examination. That's what I demand if I debate anybody. And then Q&A is always great. So I love the format. I thought it was excellent.
Were there any surprising points that came up during the debate, or anything you were not quite expecting?
There were a few things that I didn't know. And you can see it in the debate where I get flustered and he seems to be saying things that are plainly false, but it's just gainsaying me in the debate. Where I'm like, really? Let's look at the text. Let's check the text. We didn't in any of those cases actually go and look at the text. We should have. We had the time. I had some of the text brought up and ready to talk about, but so many questions had passed by then that it became moot. Just saying something is in the text or is not in the text that actually is or isn't. That was a bit frustrating. And there are a lot of points where he clearly confuses his ideology, what his inferences are with what the facts are. And so he was telling me that, that's all in my head. And I'm like, no, I'm just talking about what's in the text. You're the one who's actually adding layers of interpretation onto it. And that was frustrating in a debate when someone's not even playing by the same rules as to what is a fact or not. And I don't know that he realized that he was doing that. I think he's so into his religion and his interpretation of the text that that's what he sees. That was, I think, the most frustrating aspect of the debate.
Peter being a wise rabbi, I love that one, because I love radical ideas, because it's something I can just chase and balance, and because it's always been, Peter was just this country bumpkin, So there's no way he could have written the Epistle of Peter. It's just too sophisticated. But now this gives me some time to think,
Something I like from Carrier's writings, he says, I think it's in the sense and goodness of God, he says, whenever someone makes a radical claim, ask for primary sources. So, claim like that. What are the primary sources? That was what I was challenging with. I mean, that's one of the things I struggle with. He seems to build a lot of his arguments based on about 3 assumptions, and then he gets to his, we know this because of 3 assumptions, and I'm like, I don't think so.
Did you have anything that you did not get a chance to bring up, or something you had wanted to expand upon?
So he brought up Rodney Stark, for example, in his sociological explanation of the success of Christianity. There are correct things and incorrect things in Stark's book, and I would love to have a debate about where is he right and where is he wrong. I did mention it briefly about some of the issues. So that's one thing that I would have liked to have talked more. I would have loved to have talked more about, like, giving more real examples to show people how fiction and biography in antiquity often regularly contained fiction, and how that fiction was constructed outside of religious contexts even, but even in pagan religious contexts and Jewish religious contexts, and then show the similarities with the Gospels and Book of Acts. And so people could see, like, oh, okay, they're doing the same things. And it wasn't possible to illustrate that in the debate because there wasn't time to go into all the details and show examples and pull up sheets and bring up slides and all of that stuff.
I had a ton of mythicist type questions, specifically about Jesus' existence, because I think it was relevant, because one of my 5 facts was his crucifixion. I had a whole list of people that Carrier does argue in his writings that are historical, but for some reason Jesus, out of this list of 20 people, Jesus is the only one that doesn't exist. I'm like, why Jesus? What is that? That's a little suspect. I felt good about a lot of the stuff that we got to talk about. Even in the Q&A, I felt like a lot of things that I wanted to bring up got brought up in the Q&A. I had those books up. I wanted people to know about Mettinger, the riddle of the resurrection, and his argument about Jesus' resurrection being absolutely unique in the ancient world. Stuff about Jesus' existence and the arguments there. That's the only thing that I would have wished we had gotten to go more into that. Other than that, I thought we hit a lot of the main things I wanted to talk about.
The most powerful moment of the night came during the audience question portion of the debate, when Peter Isely, Midwest chapter president of SNAP, the survivors network of those abused by priests, pointed out that a supernatural belief in bodily resurrection has directly led to $57 million being unavailable to victims of child rape by Catholic priests right here in Milwaukee. Now, there was no comment at the time, unsurprisingly. Is there anything any of you would like to add now?
Yeah, Peter Isely's comment was interesting. I think there were things Dr. Bass could have said in response to that, but I think he was sort of caught off guard by that question. The whole issue of how Christianity can lead to this institutional abuse. And in many ways, not just the actual literal abuse, but even the abuse of the legal system over their ideology. And I think, it's difficult for Dr. Bass in that situation, because he could say, well, that can happen, but that doesn't disprove the event, right? That's not an argument against the resurrection of Jesus, but that would be kind of like a callous response, right? That would be like the technically correct response, but that would be a fairly callous response. But he could have also acknowledged that, yeah, that's really shitty, and I absolutely do not support what they're doing. So that would have been, you lead with that, and then you go to the technical point. But I think he was like deer in headlights on that, and I understand. I can imagine you'd be stuck, and your brain isn't thinking fast enough to figure out, how do I respond to this? This is horrible. So I don't fault him for saying no comment.
Yeah, I mean, the way he presented that, obviously I completely disagree with him that, Jesus rise from the dead caused that in some way. I mean, in that context, I didn't feel like there was anything to respond to.
What's that book I read, The Twilight of the Elite? It really comes down to whenever you have elite organizations with so much power, the power often tends to take it out on children. I mean, Sandusky, you have it in Islam, Protestants.
It's just incredible. I mean, it's truly incredible.
It's a human nature.
That's human depravity. I think it's evidence of our depravity.
I think Peter Isely ended the debate. He went up there and talked about how he was sexually abused as a child and how he represents an organization that represents those that were sexually abused as children. He solidified the reason why that debate needed to happen, and he stated and he showcased the legal ramifications as to why this topic is so important. The resurrection of Jesus, why that is so important, and he put a face to it. The fact that we deem Jesus' resurrection as a historical event is preventing those people from getting the compensation that they deserve for being victims of something of that type of an atrocity. SNAP, which is the organization that is illustrated in the Oscar-winning movie Spotlight, and that movie was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, please see it, because it definitely showcases why these conversations are important and why challenging authority is important.
Currently, the next announced event for Buzzed Belief is the much-anticipated debate between Dr. Bart Ehrman and Dr. Robert Price on the topic, Did Jesus Exist? That's October 21st, 2016, here in Milwaukee. There is worldwide attention, and it promises to be a historic event. What do you expect from that debate?
I think it's probably going to be a fairly important debate. Apart from myself, I think Price is the best person to pick to debate the non-existence of Jesus. Ehrman's probably the best to pick to debate historicity of Jesus, or at least the most important person to pick, because he's the most influential, to see what his positions are and how well he can defend them in that environment.
Honestly, I'm looking forward mainly how Ehrman's even going to deal with it, because honestly, I don't think I would debate Robert Price, because I feel like there's no common ground. I mean, at least with Carrier, I have common ground. Like, we have Paul's letters, we have these traditions that go back. We can talk about that. I mean, with Price, I mean, he says Paul didn't write the early letters. You know, he doesn't agree on the Apostolic Fathers. He doesn't agree on the Creed. I mean, where do you go? And I talked to Ehrman about this when we had dinner the night before the debate, and we were talking about his debate with Price, and I said, how are you going to approach this? I don't even know how you begin. And so it'll be interesting to see how he does that. I'm fascinated to see how he approaches it. I think he'll probably just lay out his case like normal, and when they go back and forth, I mean, other than just making it clear that the scholarly consensus is completely against you, I mean, I don't know where else you go.
For us, getting into the mythicist position, 3 years ago, these two are constantly mentioned. They're constantly in the conversation. These are the two people that other scholars cite. Having had Robert Price on our podcast multiple times and having interactions with him, he's just the nicest guy. I mean, he's super easy to get along with, just a funny guy, but he knows his stuff. I would never be able to retain any of that information in my life, some of the stuff he has. And, he's been doing this for decades. And now, on the other hand, with Bart Ehrman, it's the same case. I really see them as truly equals in knowledge on all positions, whether it's atheism, theism, the mythicist position, the Gnostic position, all of these various areas of study. And I think when you bring two people of that caliber together, it's going to force people to start having the discussion as to whether or not Jesus existed. Having these two come to Milwaukee, first of all, it's an honor for us. This is a national event. This is going to be nationally known.
I don't know, and I haven't interacted with Bart Ehrman yet, but I do know he's very well respected. Or Dr. Robert Price, I have interacted with on the podcast. Guy is awesome. They call him the Bible geek that fits. I mean, he can go on, and not only does he it just rolls off the tongue for him, and he makes the funniest analogies. You've got to hear him. He's hilarious. He's going to be good. He knows his stuff. Definitely, these two are evenly matched. And I'm leaving some room open. I do tend to go with the mythicist argument, but these guys are good, and I'm going to keep an open mind, and I'll tell you later what I decide.
Now, that debate will be the highlight of the day-long Myth Information Conference 3. Sean and Brian, can you tell us more about the speakers who will be giving talks throughout the day? I hear there is an up-and-coming local talent who will be no doubt wowing the crowd with his debut performance.
We're really excited. We have Allie Jackson speaking. She's from the Atheist Republic, newly named CEO of Atheist Republic, which is just this secular juggernaut. Extremely impressive group, and really, truly happy to have Allie as one of our friends, our personal friends. And we also have Dan Barker from the Freedom from Religion Foundation. We're excited to have him. This is the first project that we will team up with the Freedom from Religion Foundation. We haven't done anything in the past. He will be doing a brand new talk on his new book, God, the Worst Character in All of Fiction. I mean, he's also going to be performing on the piano. And we got two more firsts here. We have Rob Moore from the Mythicist Milwaukee team. He's going to give his first ever lecture at a major conference. So we're excited to see what he put together there. And he's, again, being the spokesperson of Mythicist Milwaukee. He's on the podcast every week. He's able to keep the topics interesting, and he's so genuine in his approach to these podcast interviews. And I think he'll do the same thing with his talk. Also, Thomas Smith from Atheistically Speaking and Thomas in the Bible podcast. That, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that will be his first lecture. It'll be interesting to hear about that. We've had him on the podcast too. He's just a great guy. Really excited.
Sean covered it pretty well. What I'll add is that it's the atmosphere that's really fun. When you go to these, and when we did the first Myth Information Conference in April of 15, it was the atmosphere itself that was hard to describe and hard to put your finger on. I mean, there's an electricity in the air. It's fun. I mean, to interact, to meet new people, to listen to the different views and then debate them, make new friends. You know, you will probably have 10 new Facebook friend requests by when you wake up the next morning. Be that even if it's at noon. But it's a really, really fun time. So just watching this on YouTube doesn't quite get it all. So if you can make it, you really want to. If you do live farther away and it's not practical, watch us online because you'll get a lot there too. It's really neat. And so I think we've tried to make options for everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our Justin Bass and Richard Carrier post-debate special. Everyone here at Mythicist Milwaukee worked very hard to put this event together, and we had a lot of fun bringing it to you. Many thanks to Dr. Richard Carrier, Dr. Justin Bass, Miguel Conner, and everyone who attended the debate. We hope to see all of you again for future events, and especially in October for Myth Information Conference 3. Go to mythicistmilwaukee.com now to buy your tickets. Special early bird pricing ends June 30th, so please hurry to get that great deal before it ends. And remember, without your support, none of this would be possible. So we are going to close with Sean and Brian telling you how you can keep us bringing you great podcasts, videos, and events, and how you too can become a member of Mythicist Milwaukee.
We're up to about a team of 18 now, and it is voluntary basis. Nobody is getting paid for what they do. They're investing their hard-earned money and their time into this project, into this vision of creating what we want to create. We're doing something very special. And that's why we need people to pay for memberships. We need outside support. We need donations. We are 501c3 pending right now. So donations right now that we bring in today can help us keep continuing to bring these things to Milwaukee and to the nation. If you go on our website, you will find the membership button, and you will see all the benefits it comes with. We're actually going to be working even harder on bringing new initiatives and new benefits for current members and future members. $75 a year, or it's $8 a month. I mean, that's a Starbucks. One Starbucks a month gets you a Mythicist Milwaukee membership, and you get to be a part of something that's actually making a much needed change in our community and hopefully inspiring change in the nation. We need people that are willing to fund these things and help us out, because that's the only way we're going to be able to keep going.
At patreon.com/mythicist, you can really help all of the efforts that we're doing. Rob Moore and I host a podcast where we talk to a lot of scholars to try to bring this out on a podcast level. It's great to listen on your way to work or at home, or if you've got some time. But this, you can sponsor little as $1 or $2 a show up to whatever you can afford. And this really helps us continue to get the word out there, try to produce quality content, and support the overall mission. There are levels of rewards of things that you get, and you can check that out on the website. But much of it is, do you want a centrist group to be talking about this? And that's what we hope. That's where we hope we can get the support